$240,000 in 90 days.
I feel like things have clicked with our marketing.
What were like some outdated tactics that you were doing?
Didn't have time to be in DMs all the time. I wanted to figure out how to make my content work better. The ROI was clear within 30 days. What you're doing is incredible.
Welcome to the show, Robin. I would love for you to start by telling the audience like who you are and what you do. I think your niche is so cool, and I'm excited for you to expand on like what you teach and what your offer is before we get into the juicy details.
Yeah, I'll give it the quick and dirty version. My name's Robin. I am a functional dietitian, and I've been in this space for over 10 years. I got into this field because I personally had a battle with psoriasis. So I was covered in spots, looked like chickenpox in the middle of college. What a great time to be so insecure about my skin. And I went the traditional route, steroids, dermatologist, all the things. And eventually 2 years later was told there was nothing I could do. Immunosuppressants, a shot in your leg for the rest of your life was your only option. So I'm stubborn. I'm a Taurus. No, thank you to that. And I dug into a root cause approach to psoriasis and healed my skin. And that really ignited my passion for helping people address chronic skin issues with a root cause approach so that you're not relying on medications for your life and you actually are addressing why it's happening in the first place. And so that is what we do at the Clear Skin Lab.
I love it. So the Clear Skin Lab, like what is this high ticket offer that you sell? Give the listeners some context, because I think when people listen to this podcast, they're like, I want to know what they're selling. I want to know like how they structure their high ticket offer. So give us like the juicy details of the program.
Yeah, we have different tiers, but our high ticket offer is really what I worked on with you. And that is essentially a one-on-one program where we are working with clients. I have a team of 7 under me of clinicians that work with our clients. And so a client comes in, chronic skin issues, we are doing advanced lab testing of all sorts. And then our team is analyzing those labs along with the client history and working with them for 6 months, one-on-one. So these are one-on-one virtual appointments and direct chat to our team. So it is high level care, but it is also why people actually get long-term results when they work with us.
I love it. It's like pretty similar to our program where it's like, it's a white glove service, a top tier thing. So I love that. Well, what I really want to zero in on is this massive result that you've had of $240,000 in 90 days. I think this is like one of our best success stories so far. So I'm so excited to dive into that. So where were you when we started, when you were like inquiring to work together? Like, what were you kind of going through as a business owner?
Yeah, the problem I've been trying to solve, to be honest, this entire year, and we're in November, so finally feel like I've solved it, is marketing. There's been a huge shift over the last 5 years of how people buy on social media. And my business was really built on Instagram. And I've expanded my offers over the past few years, but our one-on-one service, it was selling for sure, but it required me to be on social media all the time. And it felt like what I was doing wasn't actually getting a return for the amount of time I was putting into it. So it wasn't that we had a sales problem. It was that I just knew with my experience in business, I'm not doing something efficiently because this didn't used to be so hard to get the same result. And for me, I'm an optimizer. Like, let's figure out where my time can be used best. And I knew there was something that wasn't clicking. And so it was really a marketing problem. It wasn't a sales problem. I wanted to figure out how to make my content work better for the growth of the brand in a way that didn't have me tied to social media forever to make it work.
Yeah. What were like some outdated tactics that you were doing before we started working together?
Gosh.
Call yourself out.
Selling like a millennial. Let's just put it that way. A lot of direct selling to the offer, especially in stories. And I look at that and I'm like, what was I thinking? Of course that didn't work. That doesn't work for me as a consumer. So I think that was the biggest thing. Even in captions, it was directly calling to be a client. And I had nurturing funnels in place, but I think that they were outdated for the level of vulnerability and the level of nurturing needed for today's buyers. And especially in the health field, it's personal. Skin is emotional and it's mental and it's tough. And so because of my own time, I didn't have time to be in DMs all the time. And so I was missing an opportunity to communicate with my people, with our clients. And honestly, that was the problem. I was missing a lot of the depth in the nurturing space. Plus, I was trying to directly sell like on posts and stories, which nobody wants.
Yeah. I don't even remember, were you running like a webinar funnel or something, or you just were like straight to application from Instagram?
We'd had so many funnels in the past, but again, I look back and they just were outdated. And so
Mhm.
like we have had a quiz in place. It just wasn't what people wanted anymore. And we're competing with AI now, right? Like you can put your labs or personal health information in AI and it can guide you. And so just giving away boring information is not competing with that. So I needed
Yeah.
to level up how I show people that we're different and how I show the
Mhm.
depth of what we do. So we needed a stronger funnel and
Yeah.
a more current funnel that works with what people want today. So that was part of it. We had to update essentially that a free course and training that went into our funnels to strengthen that nurturing.
I love it. And I think what's super cool about what we did together was just like, you were like, Julia, just like give me the codes and I'm going to tap in and I'm going to do it. And a few things that I saw that like really made the difference that I think will help a lot of people listening to this was like, one, repackaging your offer, where a lot of times people think like, oh, I need to like burn it to the ground and build something new. But what about if we just repackage, we just change the wrapping paper, and you did that really well. So can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, our offer years ago was a 4-month program for a $5,000 investment. And over the last couple of years, for many reasons, a lot of which was internal with my team, we restructured it to a membership model, which
Mhm.
was still white glove service. It was still a high level of care. But what I was noticing is that it was very confusing from the sales side of what
Mhm.
am I getting? What's the time frame? There wasn't like a time on this membership because it's,
Mhm.
depending on when your skin is better. And that was a roadblock for people coming in. It didn't change our services at all, but the packaging needed to change, like you said. And
Yeah.
so we ended up going back to a structured model. We extended it to 6 months and adjusted the price to reflect that, and that is what we shifted it to, which obviously, I mean, that had an impact in sales for sure because it's a simplified model that people can understand. And it's when you're looking at skin or probably any goal, you want to know what is the time frame I can expect this in, and
Mhm.
saying something like 6 months is much easier than just an unknown membership timeline.
I love that. And I think that's so important where it's almost this like high ticket membership. And I think that's also the way like online education is changing because you're right. Like AI, we are like in an information economy. You can get anything you need at your fingertips. So it's like, what are people paying for? Well, they're paying for you because you're the creator. Like, this is why personal brands are always going to win because they want like Robin's tips, they want Robin's community. And I think that's important. And then on the other hand, they want implementation, they don't want just information. So I love that you've built a program that can sustain people at this price point because, yeah, you're going to have to deliver results. Like, you're going to have to get those results for people.
Yeah, and especially for our program, we're doing a lot of labs. So customization
Yeah.
is a huge part that you can't get in a DIY program. I mean,
Mhm.
you can try, but you're not going to get the same types of results.
Yeah, I was looking at some of your content the other day and you're going so hard with like the labs and stuff. I love that content. Like, I think that's so unique. One of your pieces of content, like you in the bathroom doing the lab, I was cracking up. That was gold.
That was the idea of my content coordinator, so I will give props to her. But I mean, that's part of it is a fresh lens of
Yeah.
what the consumer's point of view is. And a lot of people are intimidated by stool tests or certain types of labs. So
Yeah.
how can we make this easier because it doesn't have to be so intimidating?
I love that. And one of the first messages you sent me of like results, I remember you were like, holy shit, Julie, I put out this one post and you got like 200 leads or something on a
Mhm.
post. What was like the big shift there that you made?
That happened a couple times. And I honestly would say it has to be the hook and what I was providing, the freebie,
Mm.
the free training, because I've had pieces of content that didn't have wildly different hooks in the past. But again, my call to action was become a client, DM the word client. Nobody
Yeah.
wants to do that. That's like asking me to marry you on our
Yeah.
first date. I mean, that's really a huge thing. What we talked about earlier is improving our funnel and expanding the
Mm.
nurturing process is I gave so much away in that free training.
Yeah.
I didn't hold back. You can watch that and clear your skin if you don't need labs. Truly, like follow the steps.
Mm.
But with chronic issues, you tend to need personalization. So
Yeah.
I just gave it all away. And if you need us for more, you
Yeah.
now know what we do. And I've had so many sales calls because I
Mm.
jumped back into sales calls for a hot minute to study them. And I had a lot of people saying, I watched your training. No one talks about clearing skin the way you do.
Mm.
And I'm like, yeah, I know that. I've been talking about that for years. But
Yeah.
I was able to demonstrate that in an easy way in a 40-minute training.
You're like one of my favorite people to work with because when you have such a specialized knowledge and like the marketing just isn't hitting, it's frustrating because you're like, I know my shit is the shit. And then
Mhm.
it's like, why is it not hitting? And that's like my favorite part is like to work with people who have this like genius, this awesomeness. And I'm like, we just need to like speak the language of the people on Instagram. And once they tap in, like they're in and they're going to be the best customers.
You're so right, because we never had to at all talk about a transformation problem. Like, does our program get results? We just sped right past that because we know our goods are good. It's just
Yeah.
packaging of it.
I love it, Robin. Well, that's really awesome. So, six-figure months, like that's insane. What has that shift been like for you as a CEO?
Well, the drive for me for wanting to shift this was to feel like what I was doing was actually working. I
Mhm.
wasn't so much driven by it to hit a certain number, but I wanted to feel like the time and effort I was putting into marketing and sales was having an ROI because I've got a team to
Mhm.
pay. We've got a business to run. And so, to be honest, it's a sigh of relief because I feel
Mm.
like things have clicked with our
Yeah.
marketing. And honestly, I have lost a lot of money this year trying
Mm.
to make it click, hiring agencies that didn't work, trying to figure things out with just internal shifts, delegating, and it just wasn't clicking. So to finally
Yeah.
feel like, okay, it's working. We see that with the revenue. We ended up hiring another full-time employee to help with fulfillment. And it's just like
Nice.
now I can feel really good about expanding the team because I know we have the lead gen and I know our marketing's working for that side of it.
I love that. That's so powerful. And yesterday I did a masterclass and it was all about like, let's get more money in the hands of good people. And I love that message that you're sharing of like, now you could reinvest back to the team, you can grow the team and all the good things from there. So I love that. What would you say was maybe something that if someone's listening and maybe they're like stuck in their funnel, in their marketing, like think of like version of you that signed up for a call and was like, Julia, like, this is my final Hail Mary. I need some help. What would you say to that person based on what you've learned so far?
You just got to get scrappy and have the mindset that you're going to figure it out somehow. And I think that's something that I've just always had in me of I know I can figure it out. I just often like there's many things in business I'm like I need help with this,
Mhm.
and I was not going to just stop and say, "Oh, this is so hard. I don't know what to do," and kind of stay in a victim mindset. That's the advice I would give. Don't get stuck in a victim mindset. This is entrepreneurship. It gets hard. The market shifts.
Yeah.
Marketing will always be changing. And if something's not working, use your resources because there's a lot of free resources out there. Use your resources and figure it out. There's no
Yeah.
easy way around it because whether it's marketing or team challenges or whatever it is, that's business.
I love that mindset because I coach a lot of business people, Robin, and they don't got that kind of mindset. I absolutely love that, like, that's your mindset of like, no matter what, I'm going to find a way to make it work. And it's so funny, right? Because, like, I'm sure your clients say this to you too, like on a sales call or in the DMs, they're like, well, what if it doesn't work? And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, if you look for a way for it not to work, it definitely won't. And like, maybe we shouldn't continue this call because if you're the kind of person that's like, no matter what, I'm going to make this work, it will always work out.
And honestly, even the investments that I've made earlier this year, there are ways that I can look at it and say, okay, here's what I learned from that. Maybe it
Mhm.
was I learned I'm done working with marketing agencies in some ways, but
Mhm.
maybe that was what I got out of that. And that could save me thousands of dollars in the future. So I think it's
Mm.
also just having a perspective and taking ownership of decisions that were made. Truly, it's summarized as just like not getting stuck in a victim mentality as the owner of the business. Everything is really your decision.
And that just reminds me too, because a lot of people come to me sometimes and they're like, well, I hired a marketing agency, I hired a social media manager. And I'm just like, that landscape has changed so much. I used to be a social media manager. That was like my first freelance business. I mean, I didn't have like an LLC or anything. I was like just kind of doing it under the table. But I was just like going to local businesses and I was like, yeah, I'll run your Instagram account. I'll run your TikTok account. Like Zelle me, Venmo me.
Yeah.
Like that was my social media management business, but it's so different now. Like business owners are not paying for you to go make a Canva graphic. Like
Right.
those days are so over. And I often find that these agencies are charging like up the
It's
wazoo.
insane.
and they don't deliver results. They're like, but I delivered the 5 posts that I told you I was going to post. But then as the business owner, like we're always measuring what's the ROI, and there is none when you're going off of that old model.
Especially when you've got trying to mix the clinical world of how do you understand our services and sell.
Mhm.
It is a hard thing to do to hand off to an agency, which I've learned doing that with a personal page and in the health space, that's challenging, which
Mhm.
is why now we move to internal hires for marketing.
Nice. Well, that's also something I wanted to touch upon because basically, for everyone listening, when we first started, I was like, Robin, you got to just kind of like wear all the hats and then we can outsource and we can hire for help. And we did that. Like, we had you creating the content, we had you doing the reels, we had you in the DMs, we had you on the calls. And then we got to a point, like, towards the end of our work together, where we're like, now we can outsource it because you know how to do it and you're clear on how to do it. And we hired you a content coordinator. What has that been like, being able to like outsource your content efficiently?
It's funny because I've already been chatting with her about a full-time position come 2025.
Uh,
So she's been incredible already. And knowing what to screen for that, I would only know that from experience of seeing what has worked and what hasn't worked in our content. But it's been amazing, to be honest. Having someone come in with fresh eyes that also isn't really in my world from a science perspective, because she will straight up say, you've got to talk dumber. Like,
yeah.
your words are too fancy for me. And she just brings it back to what's the point of view of the consumer. And I think that that's important.
Absolutely. And I think that's so essential where like I will tell my clients, like mostly like my one-on-one clients or like my VIP clients, where I'll be like, hey, you gotta like, you have a PhD in what you do, but your people on Instagram are like in pre-K. So like you're trying to like PhD to pre-K, and that's where the disconnect is. And I think that's huge when you can really like translate your message into digestible tips.
Easier said than done when you're me and you're just so in your own world. But that's why having fresh eyes is so helpful.
I love it, Robin. Well, this was so fantastic. I really appreciate it. If someone listening is like maybe on the fence of joining CCA, working with me, what would you say to them if you were having a behind closed doors conversation?
I mean, I've already had conversations with people I've sent your way, but it's a no-brainer. I mean, the ROI was clear within 30 days. So, yeah, what you're doing is incredible with how you teach people to scale. Because something that is unique about you is that you won't skip over the importance of transformation and actually doing something that's helping people or having an impact. And I think there's a lot of people out there that will just talk about growing your Instagram or making sales, but you're first rooted in do something that's helpful for people. And that is something I really valued. Plus the fact that you practice what you preach. I told you this in the beginning of part of why I wanted to have a call with you is because you were not on social 24/7. You didn't just teach one way and then behind the scenes you were just living and dying on social media.
I love it. Thank you so much, Robin. And if people want to join the Clear Skin Lab, where can they find you? How can they find your program?
You can find me personally at Nutrition by Robin on Instagram. That's Robin with a Y. And then theclearskinlab.com is where all of our skin services are.
Thank you so much, Robin.
Thanks.